Hello Internet, this is Trap Rule or Plant Ashes, or if you know me in real life, Lulu, and in this video I will offer you my theory on how Amon removes people's bending. Please feel free to offer me any feedback or criticism, as this idea is still in formation. There is a very popular theory going around that I shall briefly paraphrase. Before Amon was known as a bloodbender, there was a very well-reasoned treatise that asserted that Amon's method of removing bending was not only different from Aang's spear bending, but also not as effective. In this theory, we are encouraged to notice that Aang, in removing Fire Lord Ozai's bending, touched the forehead and the chest. All this was accompanied with a great amount of glowing, while Amon seemed to manage it with just a touch of the forehead and obviously no glowing. An extension to this theory that I also saw was that Amon was blocking off the sixth chakra, which we can remember Guru Patik saying was the chakra of illusion, and that the greatest illusion is the illusion of separation. While I greatly respect this theory and acknowledge that it was formulated very early on in the series, I would like to dispute it with a theory of my own that applies the knowledge of Amon's identity, spoiler alert, as the prodigy bloodbender Noatak. I personally do not believe that we can attribute Lin Beifong's lots of earthbending to illusion or deception, but rather to an actual impairment. Additionally, I do not believe that Noatak would have had access to the same manipulation of spirit energy or such things to block others' chakras. And lastly, he stated that he used bloodbending, so with that exceedingly long introduction, I shall proceed with my theory. According to the American Medical Association Family Medical Guide, the one and only source for this hastily thought-out theory, we can identify the definition of a stroke. A stroke occurs when part of the brain is damaged because the blood supply is disturbed. Physical and mental functions controlled by the injured area deteriorate. Causes of stroke could be a physical barrier by a foreign particle, an embolus, or by a blood clot, a thrombus, or by a hemorrhage, which is when an artery ruptures or leaks. This makes it so that the oxygen and glucose that the brain needs to function do not make it through, and this is what causes stroke. Some things that can occur from stroke are sudden loss of consciousness, headache, double vision, blurriness, confusion, dizziness, and depression, in addition to the impairment dealt to the particular sector of the brain that, say, a bloodbender decided to restrict blood flow to. With every individual whose bending Amon takes away, we see them either lose consciousness or lose their motor skills, if only very briefly. Lightning Bolt Zol in the third episode immediately falls over after Amon removes his firebending, and he stumbles around for a while in confusion. Korra was very disoriented and lacked balance, like she threw some very ugly punches at him, and her coordination was shoddy at best. And Lin Beifong just kind of falls over. While this next bit is extrapolation at best, Lin Beifong and Tano, both exceedingly headstrong characters, go through a period of lethargy and gloominess that may in some way be a result from a minor stroke. And I do concede that the loss of such an integral part of one's identity would pretty much be a good reason for anyone to be upset, especially since in the case of Lin, earthbending was probably one of the most enduring and significant links she had to her mother. We already know that the likes of Yakone or Noatak or Tarlok, or in the original series Hama, and even Katara, who was actually really new to bloodbending, they can all easily immobilize a person with bloodbending and make their bodies contort, do things like having Toph unlock the handcuffs, or just render them like useless by floating. So I think the physical act of creating a blood clot in the brain would be a non-issue in terms of capability. However, I do believe that Noatak, with his idea that bending is the root of evil and conflict in the Avatar world, had the motivation and the time to develop this method. I leave you by presenting one gaping hole in my argument, which I encourage you to examine and to consider. When Amon removed Korra's bending, she was really incapable of waterbending, firebending, or earthbending, but suddenly was able to earthbend. My thoughts on this are, once again, application of very lengthy extrapolation. Perhaps Tarlok let Noatak know that Korra, the half-baked avatar, was only capable of 3 areas of bending, and Noatak subsequently only sought to block blood flow to the areas of her brain that controlled these 3 types, neglecting the 4th. And this idea only floats if there really are different parts of the brain for different types of bending, which is something that I don't think Brian or Michael, the writers or creators, would even address in the near future or in the far-flung future, but this is just a guess, and I invite you to tell me your thoughts on this. And very lastly, I think that the big red spot on the forehead of the Amon mask is symbolic of a blood clot. I'm just kidding, but I hope you found this video entertaining or informative or interesting, and I would like to hear your thoughts. Thank you very much.